let's break down the 5 can't-miss targets for the Alabama Crimson Tide in 2019. And the first guy we're going to be talking about today is Ishmael Sopsher. Now, Sophshirt, he's a 5-star linebacker from Louisiana and the #1 defensive tackle in the country. Now, despite holding 3 commitments from the defensive lineman, the position is a must-fill spot, especially if Raekwon Davis leaves early for the NFL draft. Sophshirt didn't include Alabama in his top 12 list last fall, which was somewhat of a surprise with the groundwork former defensive line coordinator Carl Dunbar laid, as well as a Tide success for the Louisiana area. But that has changed, and Sophshirt said earlier this spring that the Tide is back in the mix. Some feel like it's an Alabama-LSU race, and we'll know the Bayou State's top 5 on July 30 when he releases it. And here's what the stud DT said about Alabama football program. He said, "I see a championship-winning team. I'm not trying to say anything bad about anyone else, but that's just Alabama. They always go out and win championships. Really just the hard work and dedication they put in. When you go there, there's no playing around. It's all about football." Next guy we're going to talk about is Clay Webb. He's rated the #1 center and the #12 overall player in the country. While center might not be the biggest need per se in the class, with Emil Okiar signing with the Tide in the 2018 cycle, Webb is a can't-miss prospect in terms of talent and perception. In-state recruiting is the lifeblood of the program, and it doesn't take a genius to know that you typically want to sign the best available players in your own state when you can, and Webb certainly fits that bill. Alabama has been training for quite some time, despite Webb never naming it an outright leader. Here's what the homegrown center said about his commitment to the Alabama football program and if it's possible. He said, "It probably would be because I know Pierce Quick and I really like Coach Brent Key. It would be those relationships." The Oxford, Alabama product is expected to camp this summer, and it's adamant the decision won't be made until the early signing day period. All right, guys, before we get into our last few studs the Alabama Crimson Tide has to nail down in the class of 2019, just want to thank our sponsor, Autolist. Looking for a new or used car? Tired of browsing a million sites? Check out Autolist.com. They have the largest inventory of new and used cars, or you can go ahead and check out their top-rated app on Android and iPhone. All right, let's get to our next 2019 prospect, and that's Faatui Tuitele. Now, he is another 5-star from Honolulu, Hawaii, and it's easy to say that any 5-star recruit is a can't miss, but considering the importance of strong defensive line play to team's overall success, Tuitele is cemented among the Tide's must-have targets. A class potentially consisting of Alfano, Sopsher, Tuitele, Cheney, and Dale would certainly have to be considered an all-timer under Nick Saban and give the Tide tremendous depth moving forward. The 5-star defensive tackle is currently in the process of setting up official visits, with a decision potentially pending before his senior season. And here's what the DT had to say about why he likes the Alabama football program, saying, "They develop players and prepare them for the NFL, which is my ultimate goal. Their success speaks for itself. I built strong relationships with Coach Tosh Lupoy, who's an outstanding person when you speak to him. Coach Nick Saban also cares for his players and coaches. Their programs are just top-notch." Let's move on to our next guy, and that's Nakobe Dean. He's a #1 inside linebacker and the number 27 overall player in the country. And despite a commitment from Shane Lee, Alabama has continued after Dean, the product of Horn Lake, Mississippi, and for good reason. The nation's top-ranked inside linebacker has all the tools to succeed at the next level. Dean has visited Tuscaloosa twice this year so far and will return for an official visit in June. Recently, the elite linebacker talked about why he loves Alabama, stating, "The mentality and the mindset you have to go to Alabama. The competition, of course. I just love the competition and being around it. I know if I go to Alabama, I'm going to have to compete with some of the top guys in the country. That would be the main reason I see myself playing at Alabama." And last guy we have up is Christian Harris. Now, he's a 4-star athlete from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Now, we did see Alabama's linebacking corps plagued with injuries last season, and after former 2018 inside linebacker commits Quay Walker and Vernon Jackson went elsewhere this past National Signing Day, stockpiling depth at the position is important in the 2019 class. Now, Harris is listed at 6'1", 225 pounds, and despite being rated an athlete, is currently being recruited as an inside linebacker, and it appears as if he and Dean are the top priority targets at that position. Now, Harris named the Tide as his leader back in February after Junior Day, but backed off of sorts after a stance a short time later as other schools become more involved and more interested in the athlete. Alabama still looks to hold some sort of advantage here, especially if you follow the visits. Harris has been on campus 3 times this spring alone and will return on June 3rd and possibly June 22nd. Harris says he hopes to make the decision in the summer, and you'll have Alabama's chances if that's the case. Let's go ahead and recap my must lockdown targets for the Alabama Crimson Tide in 2015. Here are those 5 guys, so definitely look for them to be on the Alabama Crimson Tide roster in 2019. But I have one last question for you guys before we sign off. Who is your can't miss target in the class of 2019? We all know Alabama's already racking up potentially one of the best recruiting classes it has ever seen. It currently stands at #1 in the country. Woo woo! But I just want to know who you think Alabama must lock in. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Alabama Football Report. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Lena Bond Sports for everything Crimson Tide. And until next time, Roll Tide.